Did you know that the letter O is Illuminati confirmed? Yes, indeed. The letter O itself is satanic to its very core. All right, let's talk about the etymology of the occult. Etymology is a fascinating subject, and you can learn a lot about history, kind of looking at the connections of words. But sometimes you'll see a couple words that look similar, and you might feel like, hey, there's a connection. I figured something out. And you can't just do that. You actually need to look at the root words and where they came from and see how they developed. Because sometimes there is a connection, but sometimes you'll find that one came from a Hebrew word, which means X, and another came from a Greek word, and there's no connection at all. And very sad, and you are disheartened. But that's just how things go sometimes. But let's look at the word occult. It's an interesting word. I started thinking about this word because of the OC in it, and I was thinking about the word ocular, oculus, which means eye. And so I was thinking about these words. I was like, is there a connection there? And what does the prefix OC mean? What's going on with that? So I started looking into this. And this is just the Wikipedia, but I have looked at all the actual sources which are referenced in this and some other articles where they talk about where this word occult was first used and who by. And it seems like Helena Blavatsky did indeed use it first in English in the modern sense of the word. But before that, we had Eliphas Levi, the famous Freemason and occultist, and he used this word in one of his works. We have some older older works. There's one by like a priest who is, I believe, a Benedictine monk, and he uses the word earlier on. But yeah, so I wasn't finding though what I wanted just by looking at that. So I decided to like look into the OC prefix specifically. But when you look at occulus and occult, you find that their root words are not connected. This one comes from occulus, an eye in Latin, and occult comes from occultist, meaning hidden or secret, concealment. And so it doesn't seem like the root word is actually connected with those two. But maybe there is still more going on here. I was looking into those words because I was wondering if, even if there's not a root connection, when the words came into common use, I was just wondering if there was some tomfoolery going on with the creation and use of this word. So I wanted to see more, and I was thinking about how the OC looks like a sun and a moon. You know, just in a very basic sense, it's, you've got a circle and a crest. Kind of looks like a sun and a moon. So I was wondering if there's anything to that. And when you look at the letter C, one of its it says here like the Cyrillic letter ES, CC, it's derived from the lunate sigma, named due to its resemblance to the crescent moon. So there is something to this symbol, and it's even been named as such, that it does look like the moon. But that's all there really is to this letter. There's not more history to this letter where it's directly a symbol for the moon directly or anything like that. It's just pointed out that it does kind of look like a moon, and so people called it that before. But the letter O is much more interesting because the letter O could be seen as both a sun symbol and as an eye. So it comes from this Phoenician letter Ein, which is an eye symbol. Ein meaning I, and then so you've got all these different alphabets which use this letter. You've got Greek alphabets which adopt the letter as O or Omicron. So yeah, this just talks about some of how these different letters are related. And if you look at these different O's in the different languages, you see that they all share this feature where in the numeral symbol, O has a value of 70. And you can see that all these different alphabets. And so this is the Semitic. The Ayin is the kind of Semitic letter, and we see it in Hebrew and Aramaic and Phoenician, and these different languages use the same letter essentially with the numeric value of 70, and it means an eye. So that's interesting. Gematria is it's a very interesting and weird topic. Occultists are very focused on the significance of numbers, but God does use numbers a lot in the Bible. The way that he structures his kingdom, and even the way that he just built certain patterns into the universe. But God uses 12 and 70, for example, throughout the Bible, numerous times in the way that he's kind of designing things. So there's something to a numeric structure, and numeric structures in the universe. But this is a weird topic, and the occultists use this stuff in super weird ways and to try to push some really weird concepts sometimes. But anyway, there is something to this. Ayin is tied to the letter 70, or the number 70, so pretty interesting. Now we also have this ear hieroglyph, and if you go back to the letter O here on Wikipedia, on the development list of development, they put D4 first. Now what is D4? If you go over here, Gardner's by Sir Alan Gardner, he created this sign list of Egyptian hieroglyphs, kind of categorizing the different ones and their meanings. And you go to D4, and we have ear, which is basically the simplest version of the Eye of Horus. Now, Horus is, of course, a key figure in the occult. Horus, Isis, and Osiris. These figures are all quite important. And Horus is the son of Isis and Osiris. Osiris gets captured and murdered and chopped up into different pieces, and Isis has to go around and collect the pieces of Osiris, and then she can't find the missing severed cock of Osiris, so she has to do some magic, and basically Horus is conceived through all of this ridiculousness, and yeah, so that's a key story in the occult. And Horus is connected to this god, this Greek Harpocrates. And when you study these different gods and how one became the next and how they're related, it can be very complicated. Like Horus, there's like the version of Horus where he's mixed with Ra. There's Horus Ra. There's also a golden Horus where Horus and his father Osiris kind of get merged into one figure. You've got these different versions of the same god, so it can be really tricky to sort through all this stuff, but there is a direct connection between Harpocrates and Horus. Harpocrates was adapted by the Greeks from Horus. His name directly ties to Horus. It's a Hellenization of the Egyptian Harpa Kared, meaning Horus the child. And whenever you see Harpocrates, he's always making the silence symbol, putting his finger up over his mouth. And he is a god connected to secrets, to the occult, obviously. And this is an interesting point. One other tale relates to the story about the Greek gods. Aphrodite gave a rose to her son Eros, the god of love. He in turn gave it to Harpocrates to ensure that his mother's indiscretions were kept under wraps. This gave roses a connotation of secrecy, and so we've got that term sub rosa, which you'll hear under the rose, and the rose is of course a key symbol in the occult. You got the Rosicrucians who use it most prominently, but that is a symbol for occult secrecy. And if you look at what Rosicrucianism is, it's basically like it's occultism with Christianity kind of as its face to make it more palatable for and make themselves look less more Christian and more acceptable to general society. That's that symbol. And so going back to this Ayin symbol, though, the Hebrew version of this letter O, Ayin is said to have two different eyes. It's split off on the symbol sometimes. So like these are like two branches, and you got the evil eye and the good eye. So the Ayin Ra is called the evil eye, and so you've got this kind of weird split with this letter in Hebrew gematria, and this concept of like kind of the good eye, the path of God, or the evil eye, which is the dark path that you can take. And you also have the Hamsa, which is a symbol you've probably seen before. It's this hand with an eye on it, and this is supposed to be a magical charm which wards off evil, essentially. And so, you do have these kind of weird ideas about the eye in the Talmud and in rabbinic literature, and you've got the stuff like these charms. You also have in Islam the Dajjal, which is basically the Islamic version of the Antichrist, and he is described as being blind in one eye. So there's a lot of interesting one eye symbolism. And that's just something that you can remember, when you're thinking about the letter O. Next time you're watching Sesame Street and they're like, O is for oatmeal, or, something like that. You can just think O is for occult sun worship and a lot of weird stuff. But there's, I don't know necessarily what to make of this. I don't know how to end this or what to say. Like, I thought it was so weird when I came across there is like this symbol to this connection with the letter O and 70 and gematria and the eye. I don't know. It's really weird stuff. You can do with this what you will. But I thought it was fascinating to look at this. And so, when you go back to this word occult, you do literally have a symbol which can be used to represent. It's not unfair to call this like a sun symbol or an eye symbol right next to a moon symbol. So it does almost seem like that's built into the word. And I don't know if you if that that could really be proven, that they're like that the way that the word was built, like way back when, was actually trying to include like a sun and moon symbol and kind of like a secret wink right in the word of like where it's basically like a hidden eye in the word. Um, I don't know if that was built into the word on purpose. Like tracing back the etymology, it's I can't prove that, but it's really interesting to think about. And even if that's not the case, we learned some interesting things about letters and stuff today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll have some more book analysis coming up real soon, for the Masonic Origins of America series. We're going to do the next video that I put out should probably be this book, going over this book, America's Assignment with Destiny by Manly P. Hall. And then after that one, we will go into Francis Bacon's New Atlantis. New Atlantis is just going to require a lot of analysis. It's a pretty short work, but it's going to be pure symbolic analysis because it's an entirely symbolic work. So we got to pick that apart. So I thought before we do that, we'll do this one other Manly P. Hall book before we do that heavy picking apart of Bacon's work. So you got that to look forward to. I'll probably get this next video out like in the next couple days. I've been slacking on videos. I know. I apologize for not getting as much stuff out in these last few weeks, but I will try to make it up and pump out some extra content. So everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.